Well, by now you know that we know that today is Mother's Day, and yes, I participated in my great yearly ritual of descending on the pilgrimage with men from all over Southeast Michigan to the local Target store last night about 8:30, right? And for the last couple years, I seem to meet this one guy right at the card rack. We don't know each other by name, but we kind of walk up and go, "Hey, good to see you again. Good to see you again. Looks like you lost a little weight." "Yeah, I have been working on it." "Yeah. You going funny this year or serious?" "I'm gonna go funny this year." "Really? Okay." It's kind of this thing, like we kind of meet in this place to try to figure out how we make this moment work. And here's what I've discovered about Mother's Day. And moms out here, I think I'm on to you, right? Every year, I say, "Bridget, what do you want for Mother's Day?" "Jeff, I only want one thing. I want you to take the boys and leave for at least 12 hours and don't come back. Do whatever you want with them. You have a day with them. That would be the best gift you could give me." Which is great. I can do that. But then Father's Day comes along, and guess what? "Jeff, I got a great idea for Father's Day. You take the boys and just have a whole day with them," right? Am I on to you guys? Am I on to you the way this works out? Yes. Busted, right? Let me be honest with you. Mother's Day, right? As Ed alluded to in our prayer, Mother's Day can be a hard day for the preacher. It can be one of the harder preaching days of the year because there's a lot of complex emotions that go on a Mother's Day. It can be hard for those who have wanted to be moms and for one reason or another haven't been able to be. Mother's Day can be hard for those who feel estranged from their moms. It can be hard for those mothers who feel estranged from their kids. In the last month, I have helped 2 moms bury their adult kids. What do you say to those moms on this Mother's Day? And today is a day when stepmothers and foster mothers and adoptive mothers and church mothers and other mothers, they wonder where they fit into this picture called Mother's Day. And I know there are some who are birth mothers who had to make that nearly impossible decision at a point in their lives to give the care of their children over to an adoptive family, trusting that somehow this would be better for them. How do those birth mothers fit into this day? And Mother's Day is hard, because I can tell you on no day other than this day do I miss my mom more than I do right now. Mother's Day, it's complex. And so what's helpful on Mother's Day? Well, here at Royal Oak First this season, we have been collecting and sharing the stories of the people in our congregation for whom Christ's love is made real. We've been lifting up the stories of real people who make that love real in real ways. So today I want to share with you stories of 7 of these moms on Mother's Day, 7 of these mothers who have made Christ's love real and who inspire me on this day. Their names: Donna Yates, Jessica LaRose, Allison Plaxton, Lindy Angelo, Amanda Fitch, and Kim and Shannon Abella Godfrey. Donna Yates was one of the very first people that I met when I came here to Royal Oak First. We actually met her and her family before we moved here. It was in April, and I wouldn't be starting as the pastor here until July, but we had been invited to come in that April to have our picture taken for the directory. So we were standing outside the parlor door, waiting for our turn, when suddenly the door burst open, and this young man came barreling out shouting, "No! I will not have my picture taken!" And behind him came his mom, who I would later learn was Donna. And she would find him and comfort him, and eventually they'd go back in to have their picture taken. She came out, introduced herself, told me her son Dylan was on the autism spectrum, and then said, I don't think we've met. Are you new here? I said, yes, we are the Nelsons, and I'm going to be your new pastor. And she said, welcome to Royal Oak First United Methodist Church. Over the next 3 years, I would learn that Donna and her husband Jim have been tireless advocates for Dylan his whole life, giving him every chance to be included in this community and in every community. Donna Yates, this Mother's Day, you inspire me. I'll never forget meeting Jessica LaRose. It was at one of those early summer, first summer meet and greet parties in somebody's backyard. And in the midst of all of the niceties that happened, this mother looked her new pastor square in the eye and said some words to me that shook me to the very core of what I understood my job and role to be here. She looked at me with all earnestness and said, all of these dreams about this church are fine, but this church better be the church for my son, Ben. Then she went on to tell me about Ben, who also was on the autism spectrum, and told me that she needed this church not just to be the church for her family, but it better be the church for Ben. And it was those words in that first summer that I was here that told me something about what we would need to be and become in order to be the church that would love Ben, and then invite other families with children with those special needs. She and her husband, Brian, have inspired this church to begin to think differently about how we will use our space and how we will create ministries for families with kids with special needs. Jessica LaRose, on this Mother's Day, you have inspired me. When Allison Plaxton introduced me to her son Dane for the first time, she said, boy, I want Dane to be here in service with me. But sometimes all the noise in this church can be overwhelming, and I just need to make sure that Dane can wear his headphones. Now Dane comes, and he's here in church with his mom sitting there proud right now, and he's like, stop talking about me, Pastor, that would be fine. She and her husband Brent have helped us figure out what it means to include Dane in worship. And so you've seen Dane carry the cross in, and I'll never forget the day that Allison stood next to her son, proud as can be, as he was our liturgist in that morning. Allison and Brent, you inspire me. This is Lynn D'Angelo. She and her husband Steve are new to our movement here. Their son Nate was born at 1.5 pounds. He was born 3 months early. He didn't walk until he was 2. He uses an iPad to communicate. He is autistic, has cerebral palsy and a shunt in his brain. But Lynn writes, like his mommy and daddy, Nate is a fighter. He loves to build with straws, play outside, and she says he has a joy unlike any other. And then she admits, this is not always easy. Meltdowns come when you can't tell people what you want and what you need. But she said every day is a new day, and with Nate, we have something positive to look for all the time. Lynn D'Angelo, you inspire me. Let me introduce you to Amanda. Amanda is new to our movement. We met her at the funeral of her aunt, longtime Royal Oak First member Dory Bridson, and she said she came back looking for a place that would embrace God's inclusive love, in part because of her oldest son Spencer, who also is on the spectrum. In Amanda, we have met another mother who advocates for her son in school and hangs in there when days are tough and brags on him when the victories are big and small. Amanda, welcome to our movement. You inspire us. And this is Kim and Shannon Abella Godfrey. They have a foster daughter. They've had her since she was 8 months old, and she just turned 2. And these two moms love this little girl like she is their own. And when you are involved in foster care, there are challenges that I never even realized about what it means to show up in court and to advocate for this kid and live in that tension of, we have you for this moment, although we want you for forever. And they love her, and they rise, and they go, and they make challenges happen every time to make sure that this little light shines in this world and that this little girl is loved and cherished. Kim and Shannon, you have inspired me. These are our moms with children with special needs and special circumstances. And on this Mother's Day, here's what you're teaching us. You have taught us that sometimes you got to fight for your kid. You have taught us that you need to be your kid's advocate. You have taught us that you got to show up and you got to speak up and you got to stand up for your kid. It's your voices that have reminded us that what it feels like when you're left out or left behind. It is your voices that have told us, you know, this parenting thing, it is hard. And we aren't perfect. And sometimes we need some help. And it's these moms, among these other moms, that have been especially tuned to the issues of inclusion because they know what it's like when their kid gets included. And so you've helped us make sure that everybody's kid, no matter their age or their circumstances, is seen as one of God's kids. These moms, on this Mother's Day, you're my heroes. And I want to be like you. And guess what? So did Jesus. Did you hear that in the scripture today? Did you hear what Jesus said, who he wanted to be? He said, "O Jerusalem, the city that kills the prophets and stones God's messengers. Oh, how I have wanted to gather your children together as a hen protects her chicks beneath her wings. Oh, but you wouldn't let me." Here we have Jesus overlooking his city, overlooking the city, overlooking our city. Jesus overlooking every city, and his heart breaks. And as Ed says, he cries tears. Mother's tears. When Bridget cries in our house, there's trouble. Her tears aren't sad tears. They're mother's tears about something going on with her kids. As our kid said, Mom only cries when she's really mad or when it's loved one's day on Survivor. And if you watch Survivor, you would understand. Jesus cries mother's tears. He looks out at his city and he knows that in the years to come, this city will continue to struggle and it will be at war. And he has this feeling that he knows that just 40 years after his death and resurrection, that the rate that this culture is going, that his city is going to be leveled. It's going to be burnt to the ground, and God's children will suffer, and many will die too young, and the rest will be scattered to the wind. And Jesus seems to know that too many mothers will be left to mourn their children. And overlooking this city, Jesus cries mother's tears. Jesus says, I want to be a mother hen. I want to be Donna. I want to be Jessica. I want to be Allison. I want to be Lynn. I want to be Amanda. I want to be Kim. I want to be Shannon. I want to be like those moms. I want to be like that mother hen. I want to take all those kids and put them under my wings, and I'm going to make sure they're safe. Jesus, the great mother hen. Have any of you ever spent any time around chickens? Who spent some time around chickens? What do you know about chickens? Stay away from their babies. You don't want to come between a mother hen and her chicks. If you even come close, you have a fight on your hands. And that's what I've learned from these special needs moms. You do not want to get between these moms and their kids. Because if you do, you're going to have a fight on your hands. Mother hens, like special needs moms, are fierce when it comes to their babies. You know the saying, the chicken may cross the road, oh, but nobody crosses the chicken. I have seen those eyes in my household. And when the mother hen is ruling the roost, everybody look out. Jesus says, I want to be like that. Jesus uses this image of the mother hen, and on this day, it must and it does challenges all the cultural assumptions about motherhood that this holiday is built around. This image of the mother hen is not cute, it is not sentimentalized, it is not some calming picture of nurturing motherhood. No, Jesus paints a picture of a mother that is fierce, a mother who will take on the powers and principalities of this world if they are bent on harming God's babies. This mother hen has no fangs, she has no claws, she has no rippling muscles. All she's got is great big wings and a willingness to shield her kids with her body if it's necessary. This last week, I have been looking around at stories about chickens. I have a very exciting life. This week I researched things about chickens, and now Facebook thinks I want to be a chicken farmer. Ad after ad. So, have you thought about being a chicken farmer? No, I haven't. But here's what I heard this week in looking about this thing about mother hens. Is there a story after story of finding a mother hen in a barn after a fire, laying on top of her chicks, sacrificing herself so that they might have a future. Jesus says, I want to be like that. I want to be that kind of mom. I want to be like a mother hen. And isn't that exactly what Jesus becomes? On the cross, he becomes the great mother hen, wings spread, heart exposed, saying, all I got is my body, and I'm going to put it in the way of anything that goes after God's children. And I find it interesting that when Jesus wants to talk about himself, he is not afraid to use a distinctly feminine mothering image. And that is a reminder to me and to all the men here today that mothering, that nurturing, that protecting, that advocating, that sacrificing, that parenting has less to do with gender and has everything to do with your ability and willingness to spread your wings wide and to take in as many of kids and protect God's kids. Today is a call to all of us to be that kind of parenting presence in the world. So if Jesus is the mother hen, then the church that bears Jesus' name ought to be it too. So I checked in with Charlene Conrad and the board of trustees, and guess what? We're going to do another building project, and this time we're putting a 50-foot chicken on top of the church. Right? We want everybody to know that this is the chicken church. We're going to put a great big mother hen on top with her wings spread wide open so that this entire community knows that in this place you are under the protection of the great mother hen and that all God's children can find a spot here under her wings. When we reopen this building, I know that we are committed to making sure that we get 12-step programs back in here so that all of those who are struggling with addiction can find a safe place under the protection of God's great big wings. And we're going to keep our doors open here to feed the hungry and offer assistance to those experiencing homelessness. And we are committed to not just being satisfied of giving people a sandwich and sending them back out onto the street. We want to create a movement in a community that gets these friends and these neighbors underneath God's wings so that they too can move towards employment and can hold themselves in a new way. We're going to spread the wings of God's love wide. And let me just be on the record one more time. In this place, if you want to go after any of God's LGBTQ kids, you're going to have to come through us first. All kids are God's kids. And in this place, all kids are safe under the protection of the great mother hen. All, and I mean all, are welcome under the wings of God's love. So please remember that Mother's Day is not some call to flowers, to chocolate, or to Hallmark, but rather let it be a call to stand with the fierce mother hens of our church and our world and say, you're going to come after any of God's kids and you've got to come through the wings of the great mother hen first. See, something amazing starts happening in this church when these special needs moms have started spreading their wings around here. And it's happening. And it's happening right here, right now. Donna, who I introduced you to earlier, she noticed sitting with her in church most Sundays was a young man. He sat in her section. He was nice, he was quiet, he was friendly. But her mother's eye and instinct told her that this young man was a lot like her son Dylan. So she reached out and welcomed him, and she learned that his name is Mac. She also learned that since Mac's mother had passed away, he'd been struggling to find housing and meet some of his basic needs. And so this mother hen came and found her pastor with her wings spread wide open, and she looked at me straight in the eye. She said, "You know, if Dylan were in the same boat, this church would make sure that he wasn't on the street. And if you're going to make sure that Dylan's not on the street, we're going to make sure that Mac's not living on the street. Right, Pastor? We're going to fix that, right, Pastor? Right? You don't cross the mother chicken. And like I said, you don't come between special needs moms and their chicks." So Donna reached out to Nancy and Chris Orletsky, members of our church. Nancy is an attorney, and Chris does whatever Nancy says. Nancy knows a little bit about navigating systems, and she's got guts, like mother hens do. And she set out to help Matt get qualified for benefits and begin to move him towards Section 8 housing. And guess what? They're doing it. And it's not easy, but they're doing it. They're taking the steps, and they're making the appointments, and they're getting the assessments, and they're filling out the paperwork, and these mother hens are making it happen. And when the mother hens start making things happen, God start making miracles. When Nancy tells Mac's story, people jump in and help from all over the community. The psychologist that gave Mac the testing to determine his qualifications for benefits did it free of charge. The attorney that specializes in Social Security applications is going to help Matt get his disability in place, and he's doing it free of charge. And another attorney friend of Nan's is going to set up a special needs trust so that any funds that are collected to support him will be protected. And she's doing it free of charge. I feel like I'm at a rally here. Amazing things happen. Amazing things happen when mother hens start spreading their wings around here. And they've gotten Mac a hotel. And so he has somewhere safe to sleep. And here's where I need the rest of the flock to help me out. It's going to take at least another 8 to 12 weeks to get all of this done. And the hotel costs about $35 a day. And so I'm looking for 100 people today who are going to say, I'm going to buy my mom one more Mother's Day present. On my way out, I'm going to make a $35 contribution. I'm going to get one more night in that hotel for this child of God. And then I'm going to get on the phone and I'm going to call my mom. I'm going to tell her about the gift that I purchased in her honor. And I'm going to tell her about this movement and what it means to be a part of this gathering of the great mother hens. So will you do that today? On your way out, will you find Jennifer? And will you buy one more Mother's Day gift? We take credit cards now, so you can help with that. Eventually they're going to be on the offering plate, but we're getting there. Because it helps. I haven't carried cash in 5 years, but I want to help. And we want to help you help. And that's what this day is about. Here's the deal, friends. I've seen the new Avengers movie 4 times in the last 5 days. I love superheroes. But hanging around here this week, I got a whole new vision of what superheroes are really like. You see, I no longer want to be Iron Man. And I don't want to be the Incredible Hulk. And I don't want to be Thor. Although Bridget would like me to be Thor. What I want to be is the mother hen. What I want to be is like these moms. Like these moms. Because on this Mother's Day, they're my heroes. Happy Mother's Day.